All right. Well,
back.
welcome to part 2 of Q&A. My supper is going off. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'll get it later. So, in these segments, we are answering questions about the bees that we have received on, what was it? Our website, on YouTube and Instagram?
We don't have a website, so that's hard.
Not our website. Facebook.
On Facebook. On our Facebook group and on the YouTube channel. In the comments. I didn't ask them on Instagram.
Okay.
I'm not very good at this.
All right. So we're doing these in 3 segments because they're long. So this is our second segment. So let's listen to some of the questions people have asked. All right. First question. What do the bees use the honeycomb for? Firelight.
Building tiny sandcastles. Ow. The bees use the honeycomb for just about everything they do. That's where the eggs go. They're laid in there. They get fed in there. They get encapsulated in there. They hatch from there. Then the first thing they do is they clean it, and then it can go on for a number of uses. Another egg can be laid in there, or honey can be placed in there. Pollen can be placed in there. So it's both a nursery and a pantry.
Yes. And it's really the foundation for their home.
Yeah.
Okay. How long does honey last?
Forever. It has, sorry?
I was going to say, they've just found, they dug up some Egyptian tombs, ancient Egyptian tombs, about 5,000 years old, and they found usable, edible honey in it. 5,000-year-old honey, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, you can crystallize honey into a powdered form, and it will remain good and usable forever as a sweetening device.
And as we talked about in the last video, honey is actually antibacterial and has antifungal properties.
We didn't mention that.
Yeah, we did.
We did?
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't
Briefly.
Briefly. Briefly. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right. Next question. Or yes, is pollen the only thing that bees eat?
No.
They eat.
No, it isn't. They eat the honey. They eat the pollen. They drink water. They have tiny keggers.
No, they don't.
They don't have tiny keggers. All right. This is why I'm supposed to be holding the cards. It helps. Anyway.
They eat honey, pollen, and water, as Viola said. The pollen is more for brood rearing, making babies. Think of it as protein, and think of the honey as like carbohydrates.
Yep. So that's their kicking out of winter thing. They need a big protein shot to give them the power and the energy to start foraging, to start taking care of the babies, and to just feed themselves. So right now they have pollen stored away for the winter, but they're going to start going through that before they go through the honey, actually.
Yeah.
So you're more likely to have honey left over than you are pollen in your hives.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And next question is, how often are queens born? Good question.
When the bees frickin' feel like it.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that contribute to the birth of the queen. In a really good hive, when the queen starts to fail, the bees will go and make a new queen. If the hive is getting too big, the queen or the bees decide, you know what, we've got to split, so they'll make a new queen. The old queen leaves, and the new queen stays and with half the hive, and that's how they split hives. If they don't like the queen, they will make a new queen.
See Hive A.
If the weather is bad, they will blame the queen and try and make a new queen.
Hive 1.
Yeah, did I say if they don't like the queen?
You did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and you know what, too, you can tell what type of queen they're making by where they lay it. Generally, I mean, it's not a steadfast rule, but if they're making the egg within the frame, visible and not hidden, it's usually because their queen is failing, or they're splitting the hive. If they're making it on the bottom underneath, they really don't like the queen and they want to get rid of her. So, a couple of little tips there. All right, next question.
Yeah.
What is the average?
There was one more thing. There was one more thing. If the hive is too crowded and the pheromones of the queen don't reach the entirety of the hive anymore,
yes,
they will make a queen.
Because they don't think they have one.
They don't think they have one. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's another one. If you leave them queenless with baby eggs, that's
They
how
will make
you,
a queen.
that's how you force them to make a queen. Yeah, 'cause
We
they-
did it twice.
and it works. Okay, so what is the average life cycle of a hive queen? Of a hive/queen?
First you get it in a box, and then you take it to the field, and then you put it in another box.
What is the average life cycle? So they mean
Oh, they mean the actual life cycle of the
Time.
queen. All right. A queen can live up to 5 years.
less now though.
Well, actually, a queen can live up to 7 years. Most people recommend that you replace your queen every 2 years.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that, because according to our teacher in class, he's been a beekeeper for 50 years. In the 1970s, they kept queens quite regularly 5 years with no failure rates. They were strong, they were good, but because of the pesticides, because of the problems, because of the
Varroa.
sickness that have entered the hives, queens just are not lasting as long. And so they recommend between, if you get 3 years out of your queen, you're really pushing your luck. So 2 years is what they recommend, and then actually they recommend you killing your queen and getting the hive to make another one. Not to take your chances, because if you have a failing queen going into winter, it will kill the hive. That's it. So, and life cycle of a hive, well, a hive can go indefinitely as long as they have a strong queen.
Yep, they've found some neglected hives that have gone on for 30 years.
Yeah.
And what happens is bees will come and will go, and wild hives will find their way in there because they've smelled that other bees have been able to make a go of it before.
Mm-hmm.
So the hive itself, the building of it can remain active for decades. It's just that the occupants change.
Okay. So this is a question that we've kind of already answered, but if the queen dies, is the whole hive abandoned?
No.
And yes.
And yes.
You do the no part.
I'll do the no part. If a queen dies, or if she is brutally slaughtered in an uprising, which I believe happened to Hive A at one point,
Who knows?
then if they have any viable larvae that like less than 4 days old that they can turn into the next queen, they will begin to build a new queen immediately.
Yeah.
They will feed her with royal jelly. They will extend the sides of the cell, and they will turn it into one of those little peanut-shaped cells that you've seen in some of the videos. And it will be lovely, and hopefully they will take very good care of it. They will also hedge their bets and do 5 to 7 of them at a time, possibly more. So as many viable eggs as they can get a hold of, if it's a good population, they will turn all of those little suckers into queen cells. And then the first one to hatch will run around and sting all of her sisters to death.
Sisterly love.
Sisters!
Anyway, and so that was the no portion. The yes portion is, and like Viola said, the eggs have to be within 1 to 4 days old. If they are older than that, the queen dies, or if it's a sickly hive, they will just leave. And they'll look for other hives that might take them in. And that does happen if the bees come bearing gifts, the other hives will let them in. If they come bearing nothing and try and rob it, they will kill them. But no, the hives will take on other bees if they're looking to switch allegiances. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, when Wonderland was built, it was built by taking frames and just violently shaking bees into the new hive, and it worked.
Yeah.
So far, hopefully, it's all still going. We won't find out for a couple more weeks, so that's why we're doing the videos now, because we're getting a little tense now. We're starting to gear up for next year, or for this year, for spring. We're getting ready for spring.
All right. We're good.
Yeah.
All right. Next question: do wasps and yellow jackets interfere with your bees?
Well, yes, they do. Spiders are actually more of a problem for us. The spiders will actually string webs out right in front of the hive entrance, and they'll just like collect 5, 10, 15, whatever they can. So we go down there and we don't expunge the spiders, but we take down the webs. And eventually they move on. Now that we've got the pebbles there now, we don't have as much of a spider problem.
Yeah. And it does depend on the health of the hive. If the hives are not healthy, then wasps and yellow jackets will take them out. And they'll rob the hive. But if you got a good strong hive, they don't bug you, or they won't bug them, because they're just outnumbered. But what was it in the States? In southern United States, they have a real problem with Asian wasps, which are huge little things, and they two of them will sit at the entrance of the hives, and they will kill the bees and eat them coming out. It's really, really detrimental to the hives, and those beekeepers actually will follow the yellow jackets back to their hive and set it on fire. There, I said it. Because they are really, really a pain. So we don't have that problem. We just have regular flat cat. We have regular wasps and yellow jackets, and they're not that big of a problem. All right, next question related. Are there any honey-eating varmints?
We have an electric fence.
There are some varmints that eat the bees, like weasels and raccoons and such, which is why we have the fence. And actually, coyotes will eat the honey, which is also why we have the fence.
We found that out the weird way.
Yeah. And they'll eat the honeycomb too if you leave it out. Like we were leaving some out so the bees could reclaim it. And we came in the morning and
the coyotes had reclaimed it.
yeah, it was gone.
Yeah, you don't want it after the coyotes are done with it.
Well, no, it's in their tummies, and I'm not going after it. So, yeah. Do you protect your hives from them? Yes. Electric fence.
Yeah.
Now, if you've seen our electric fence, it's not very steady. And people have mentioned that for bears, well, it's not going to keep bears out. And it's like, well, no fence is going to keep a bear out if the bear really wants to get into that yard. But the electric current is enough to deter them. And that's all you really need. I've watched videos on end on YouTube where these grizzly bears are being kept out from lunching baskets by a very flimsy electric fence because it's really just the electric shock that they don't like. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, next question. What do bees like to eat?
We answered that one.
Flowers.
They like to eat pollen and honey and water.
Flowers.
And they like flowers.
So if you want to help the
Big
bees,
on flowers.
plant
And
flowers.
flowering trees. Flowering trees. If you have flowering trees in your neighborhood, give them some love. Well, the flowering trees are the early pollen.
Yes, they are, but they're also flowers.
And they are flowers. And they're what the bees get, like willows and stuff like that. That's what, well, I just mentioned willow because that's what we have on the property. But that's what the bees are going to be using to get their nurseries up and running this year. Hopefully, we're hoping that like a giant snowball doesn't just land on our beehives
And they're not fussy. Like they want nectar, they want pollen. So if the flowers have that, they will go after them. It doesn't matter what kind they are.
Oh, and of course, the flowers that you have determines the taste of your honey.
Yes.
We found that out. We have lovely honey because it's all just wildflowers and clover.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. So what is the range of the bees? Quarter mile.
Well, no, 2 miles, I thought.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
They'll chase you for a quarter mile.
Yeah, they'll chase you for a quarter mile. Yeah,
but
if you're running away from them.
Yeah, if their hunting range is 2. Their protective their protective range was about 50 feet outside or 20 feet outside the hive.
Yeah, 20 feet.
They'll chase you 20 feet.
Yeah, the Saskatraz bees would bonk me in the head.
And chase her.
Yes, and for you and for those people watching this in the UK, yeah, it doesn't mean that. It means just thwap.
Anyway,
yeah.
So but their hunting range can go up to 5 miles a day if they're really, really searching. But generally, they like to stay within a 2 mile range because they can get to and from the hive most easily. So the closer the food source is to the hive, the better it is for the bees.
At the 5 mile range, they're actually burning out the same amount of food and energy to get there as they are to get back.
That's
so
desperation.
It's just panic.
Yeah. So the next question is, do you move the bees to fields for pollination? Last year we didn't because we really didn't know anybody in the area, and this year though, we might have a line on somebody with flax fields that we're hoping to move
just down the road. So we won't send all of our hives there, but we might take 3 or 4 out there to leave them for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And it's not going to be like you see with those mass-produced things where we leave them on a truck and we plan to bring them out there and park them for the duration, and that's going to be their winter food. Like pollinating bees have a really rough life, and the farmers really don't care if they survive or not, which is kind of sad. We love our bees. And our cats.
And our cats.
So it's not going to be that. It's going to be for honey harvesting and storage and pollination of the fields. So, yeah. Okay, so next question: do we have enough flowers to feed the bees?
Yes.
Currently, yes, but
Hopefully.
if we are looking to expand our fields to make more flowers and because we do plan to get some more bees, we're going to need more flowers.
Yeah.
The general rule of thumb is you need an acre of flowers for one hive. And the next one, what are the neighbors' plans like? Well, interestingly enough, we live pretty much in pasturelands all around us, so there's just a lot of native wildflowers, and very, very few people actually use pesticides, so we really lucked out on that.
Yeah, our nearest neighbor is a marsh, and across the road is a marsh, and next to us is cattle, and on the other side it's small cattle and some goats. So there's not a lot of crop production in our immediate vicinity.
Yeah.
So which is kind of nice. Yeah, and we have all the wild marsh flowers as well, which is great, and all the water that our bees need. The bees have the water that they need, so we don't have to panic over water. And they're it's like less than 500 to 700 feet away from the hives.
Okay. And next question, are we offering bees for pollination? We sort of answered this already, but yeah, if you're close in the area, like we're not going to be pollinators. It's very rough on the bees. They don't live long.
It's rough on me too. Sorry.
I'd like to see you out there with a Q-tip on every little flower.
I'd use a paintbrush.
Okay, fine. Yeah, no, it's not a really healthy life for the bees. But if there's people in our area where we can go park a hive for the summer, that's a totally different story because they are getting everything they need through that, and they're not being cranked out like tiny little prostitutes or whatever. I don't know how else to say that. Cat.
He's half of our logo.
He's a noisy cat. He's a fat cat right now because he can't go outside. Anyway, and then what pesticides in the area? We already answered that. Very few.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and since there are no crops in our immediate area, it's pretty much a non.
Very natural.
Yeah, within about 10 miles of us, there's no crops growing.
Yeah, the one thing that we really want to do if we get settled in that area is actually talk to people about planting native flowers and stuff, and just sort of bringing life back to the area. One of the things that people in the town of Inwood have said is like over the last 10 years or so, they haven't had a lot of berries, they haven't had a lot of fruit that they used to have a lot of.
But the bushes are everywhere, they just have no pollinators.
And so, maybe we can bring a little bit of education to them and about bees and stuff like that and make it a little bit more bee friendly and bring back some of these berries and stuff to town.
I'd like to host some Meet the Bee days.
Yeah.
We have extra suits, as I'm sure you've seen when my friend lets me borrow her son's. So we can suit anybody up from head to toe without too much difficulty. So.
Yeah. And that was it.
That's it for video 2.
All right. Bye-bye.